Ahí está, ahora sí. Muy buenas tardes, amigas y amigos. ¿Cómo están todos? Bienvenidos a una emisión súper especial en Arcadia Café. El programa de hoy lo vamos a hacer en inglés, ¿ok? Lo hemos hecho en el pasado y hoy va a ser un programa especial en inglés. Así que a partir de ahora, from this moment on, I speak very slowly, so a little patience, please. For me, we have a very special guest. This being a channel that talks a lot about the woke politics in pop culture, in movies, in video games, comics, etc., etc. I am very happy to have here the head, the key player in the whole Comicsgate movement, Mr. Ethan Van Sciver. Welcome.
Wow, thank you. Amazing.
How are you, man?
Good. I'm good. All things
Okay.
considered. Yeah, very well.
Great. Well, it's almost 7 p.m. here, so excuse me, but
It's
I
Miller
wanted
time.
to do this. Also, cheers to you, man.
All right, salute. Hello, chat.
So, I saw you talking the other day about the whole copyright thing related to Comicsgate. You know, that's the most recent news we had that shake the movement. So, how is that going?
It's going really well. We've won 2 out of 3 battles. Basically, what happened was somebody who expressly wants to destroy Comicsgate. And Comicsgate, of course, is a movement. It's become kind of a club of individuals who are tired of woke politics and comics. We want to make our own without like woke interference. Essentially, we're an indie comics movement of fans and creative people. A lot of people don't like that, and they're having They're having a lot of difficulty with it. I think they intentionally mean us harm. Somebody attempted to trademark the word Comicsgate in order to destroy the movement. Anybody who used the word Comicsgate, they would receive a false DMCA strike. Their YouTube channels would be taken down. This person really expressly meant us harm, meant to destroy us. And
You know who this is? Who this person is?
yeah, he's a fellow named Preston Poulter, and his whole group of very strange people. I think he did it for attention. I think he did. I mean, Bleeding Cool did an article laughing about it. Ha ha ha! You know, we got him now. He appeared in all these kind of left-wing YouTube channels laughing about this. It was really funny. Unfortunately, fortunately, I have the trademark. Okay, it's common law. It belongs to me because I used it in commerce. We, of course, were opposing him in court. He tried to cancel the trademark, my trademark, and the USPTO, which is the Trademark and Patent Office of the United States, rejected his attempt to cancel our trademark based on non-use. So far, to this date, we've never put Comicsgate on a comic book. I never have, but other people have. That was his contention. Now I think the third count is fraud. Like we're fraudulently asserting that it's mine. I don't really know, but we'll win that too. We're going to win the every single attempt of his to ruin Comicsgate. It's too important. You know, it's too important to too many people. So we have been winning. We just won big time. We also issued a countersuit against him. We launched a suit. We're going to sue him for trademark counterfeiting, which means
How can a legal battle like this could last?
Could be another year. I'm told it's going to be another year. Yeah.
Oh, well, it's not that bad.
No.
Okay.
In the meantime, it doesn't matter. We're having fun. We're making comics. I'm making shirts. I'm going to make hats. I'm going to make more cool things that just say Comicsgate on them so that people who align with the movement can actually show their support for it and let people know that, we do believe in creative freedom without political oppression, discrimination, all of those things. So.
Okay. So there has been, to deal here in South America. It's a little bit worse because most of the governments in South America are all socialists. So it's infected with progressives in the media. You know, it's like hell.
We're not too far from where you are.
No,
We're
and we
getting
are
there.
seeing you trying to go that way, and I see a lot of video game journalists, comics journalists, pop culture in general, saying, "Yay, socialism, Che Guevara, and shit," and it's like, no, it doesn't work. We've been through it, so I can't believe how the United States of America are sympathizing and saying, like, cheering and selling socialism as a cool thing. I saw the Incredible Hulk wearing the green napkin. Have you seen him?
No, what the
The
actor who plays the Incredible Hulk?
yeah, the actor that plays Incredible
Mark
Hulk,
Ruffalo? Yeah.
Mark Ruffalo, with the green like a napkin that for the to legalize abortion. That was invented here in Argentina. They invented all the green napkin movement, and seeing Mark Ruffalo with it, it's like a brand, you know. And no, it's not cool. It's not cool at all.
So many people in America, so many people over the prior 250 years died for our freedom, died to make us a unique experiment in freedom, and that's something that you can say about the United States. We are an experiment, a unique experiment, and liberty. And to see this generation of leftists just anxious to throw that away and fall into this trap of socialism is. I think it's beyond sad. It's worrisome. It's troublesome. It's despicable, in fact. And hopefully, the better angels of America can push back on that, and we can retain our freedom. But we're in a predicament right now. I think the United States is in a really a terrible predicament. Social media spurs on, praise for socialism, praise for radical leftism. There's a lot of pressure and to conform with that. We're in for some interesting. We're living through an interesting time, I think.
It is, yeah, and it is amazing how this politics impact. Although they will say no, politics has nothing to do with it in all the pop culture, of course. But since we are mentioning politics right now, you've been canceled a couple of years ago. You mentioned it when you shared a picture with a MAGA hat and branded as a Republican, which is like the devil, nowadays in America. It's incredible.
Weird.
And
Yeah, it's weird.
it's weird.
Because there are two political parties in the United States.
You're a comic artist. You need a villain to make this story up, right?
I guess so. Yeah, I guess so. I don't know. There's so many people there are convinced that Republicans are evil or are a problem. And I always thought it was kind of funny. I worked with these people, and I understood that like 80% of them were leftists, and many of them would express very stupid, radical, political views that just made absolutely no sense. And every now and then I'd be like, hello, like, no, like that can't be, that doesn't make sense. That is a viewpoint that was, that you picked up somewhere on the internet that was just meant solely to create hatred for Republicans. That just isn't true. But I was fully aware that they saw me as, the other. The entire time I worked at DC, the entire time I worked at Marvel, people looked at me strange, and I would see people every now and then look at me and say, "You voted for George Bush, didn't you?" In the early 2000s, I can't believe you voted for George Bush. And that would be the first thing that they would say when they saw me. I'd be like, hello, how you doing? I saw your new book. It looks great. You voted for George Bush, didn't you? And that would be the reaction that I got from people all the time. But I just laughed it off. I just thought it was kind of funny. I didn't realize that it was going to become this, that it was going to become like things were going to come to a head and it was going to be a real problem. When Trump won, their brains broke. When Donald Trump won the election in 2016, their brains broke. And the fact that I was wearing a MAGA hat and was happy because after 8 years of Barack Obama, the Republicans won. Theoretically, conservative things could happen, could get done. It was my turn. It was my turn to be represented. They could not tolerate that. And I saw them immediately start to configure and say, you know what? We've had enough of Ethan Van Sciver. It's time to get rid of him. And they certainly did.
Since when did you exactly leave the main editorial house of the popular comics DC. When did you
Mhm.
leave them?
That was like February of 2018 is when I got the telephone call. Now I had an exclusive
Just a couple of
contract with
years
them
ago.
about 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly coming up on 5 years ago. Yeah, I got a phone call from them. I've always had an exclusive contract. They always renewed my exclusive contract 2 years at a time. I'd be working only for DC. I stopped for 2 years to go work for Marvel. I didn't like it. Came back to DC. But it was always kind of taken for granted that I was part of the family. They were going to keep renewing my contract because I had friends there, like people like Dan DiDio would sit there and, yeah, of course, we've got plenty of stuff for you to do. You're going to come back. But in February of 2008, after sustained 1 year of sustained pressure from my peers, from the comic book left-wing media, sites like Comics Alliance and others, the internet, Twitter, a sustained harassment campaign of press articles calling me a white supremacist and asking DC when they were going to deal with their white supremacist harassment problem. Apparently, I was harassing people because of my politics. DC Comics finally called me in February of 2018 and just said, "We're not going to renew your contract. Okay, just heads up. You've got this many more books to do. Get these done, please, and then you'll have time. You've got like 4 books to do to find your next situation." And that was astonishing. I was not expecting that. I think before, like a year before that, I'd said to them, "I'm going to be 80 years old and still working at DC. I love this place. I love it here. My identity is tied to working for DC Comics." So this was really profoundly, it was awful. It felt like a death. It felt like I'd been killed, in a lot of ways. It was like a knife in the heart. And I had to tell my wife. We just had a child together, our first child together, who was born with autism, and she was a year and a half old. And we just looked at each other like, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? We have this child who's going to need care. She's going to need special help for her entire life. And I've just had my reputation annihilated. My career is over. My life is over. It seems like, what are we going to do? And it was a really troubling moment. Yeah, it was awful. I feel for anybody who's been canceled. I hear it all the time. I understand exactly what they're going through.
Yeah, it's terrible. It's really terrible. Well, it happens to to a lot of us. It's like it is also a smart way to eliminate the competition. They used it that way.
I wonder if that's what it is. I wonder if there's a little bit of that. Yeah, I think. I think it's just,
Because
it's not
with
about
one hand, I'm doing a good thing, I'm canceling a bad person, and with the other hand, I'm leaving that spot, in the house.
Maybe. I think it's more like, I think what's happened is activists have taken over the organization. And this happens in a lot of, not just comics, it happens all over the place. Activists have taken over the organization. And it's important that they identify people who are going to oppose them, their narrative, and remove those people. And I was a very visible, vocal conservative Republican at the big, and a very popular one. I was, getting nominated for awards. I did all the big projects over there. I was popular at DC Comics and making a lot of money. And I had influence there. And here I was, a conservative at a time when social justice had taken over DC Comics.
And nobody there took your hand? Like, they all closed the door?
Well, what I think the order came down from on high. They had, like, Diane Nelson took over DC Comics at the very top of the pyramid, and she wanted me flushed out because she was also a leftist. But my friends there did what they could. Dan DiDio said to me, and Dan DiDio, like, he was facing all of these people too. They confronted him at conventions and says, why aren't you hiring more women? More women need to be working here. And he'd be like, I hire the best people. We just hire whoever's going to be the best for the job. Well, women are the best people for the job. And Dan was just, that's a kind of pressure that, it's like you have to deal with. So Dan understood. And I think he said to me, come back in June. This was February. He said, come back in June and we'll get you, we'll work things out. By June, Cyberfrog #1 was already well on its way. I was fine. But you know what happened in June? Diane Nelson got fired. So it was, Dan must have known that, right? Dan must have known. She was on vacation at the time. And so Dan just said, come back in June. He must have known that she would have been officially fired and let go in June. And apparently she was in agreement with cancel culture. She was a big part of that.
But the next boss didn't change things?
Well, I don't think so. I've gone, let's look, since then, Pablo, I've gone pedal to the metal about exposing the comic book industry. I'm not anxious to make myself welcome or amenable there. I'm certainly not going to.
Well, but my question was, how is your relationship with the editorial today?
Non-existent. Non-existent.
So you went full indies. It was like starting over.
Yes. Yes.
And with this, you made. I saw in a report you made for the Ben Shapiro site, the Daily Wire, over $1 million via the fund. What do you call it in United States? This GoFundMe site.
Indiegogo.
Indiegogo. Okay. And it's incredible because the funds are out there.
Well, what we had to do was, we had to identify. I was talking to the guy who ran the site Diversity in Comics. We were in close communication. We were trying to figure out. We'd realized that, I think initially with Comicsgate, with the movement, we initially thought that we could just say, look, like, we're customers and you're not making customers happy. And maybe you should change and stop focusing so much on woke politics and get back to what made comics sell. We found out that wasn't going to work. They weren't interested in what we had to say at all. Again, they're a politically activist movement. They're there to make political changes for political reasons, not business reasons. It was never. It's not like, hey, we made the Joker pregnant because it's going to sell better. You understand? They're trying to make a point. They're trying to change the culture. They're trying to reprogram the children who read comics, if any children still do read comics. That's what they're trying to do. So arguing with them from that perspective just wasn't going to work. We needed a way to be able to afford to publish our own comics, and none of us had any money. So we went to. They had Kickstarter. Kickstarter was interesting, but they were more political then than Indiegogo was. We went to Indiegogo.
They too.
Yeah.
I mean, the sites went political too?
Yeah, Kickstarter is full. Go look at some of the comics that are being made by Kickstarter. They're very funny. They're very mostly involve identity politics, LGBTQ issues, things like that. That's what they do. I've never tried to fund a comic there. I might try it just to see. But Richard C. Meyer tried to fund his comic book there, his first comic on Kickstarter, and he received a swarm of harassment from these social justice warriors. Man. Kickstarter relented and kicked his comic book, rejected it, and said, whatever it is, it's not for our site.
It's like they don't want you to work, not even independently.
They want you to die. I don't say that lightly. Like, one of the most frustrating things for them is that I'm still alive. Like, they honestly just wanted me to lay down and die, and I'm never going to do that. I'm not going to do that. So I'm somebody who will find a way. But Kickstarter didn't work out too well for Richard C. Meyer. So my wife and I were already looking at Indiegogo. We thought it was a better platform. The fees were lower. It seemed more like unknown. It was smaller than Kickstarter. We went to Indiegogo with Cyberfrog. I think we launched it in May. Pretty sure we launched it in May of 2018. I finished up my work at DC, except for one issue. I just said, please let me go. I don't want to finish this last book. And I did Cyberfrog Blood Honey over there. Because we were able to raise the money. See, that's the big issue. The big problem with independent comics is, one, they don't have any money. So they can't really afford to make a series last. And two, they don't have a means of promotion outside of these big corporations. We use YouTube. We use social media for promotion. Nobody ever had this before. Nobody was, back in the 1980s, the 1990s, an indie company really didn't have the internet and YouTube and all these things to reach out to people and say, look at my comic book, here it is. And here's where you can get it. Here's a point of sale. These two things together, a platform to sell your comic book outside of the direct market and the internet to promote it, make doing indie comics easy, much easier than they ever were before. So this comic book raised, I think, in its first round of funding, $538,000 by June. So I wasn't, Dan might have said, come back in June. And at that point, I was like, I just made, like, with this comic book, I made, way more than an exclusive contract re-signing. There's no way I'm going back. I'm going to keep doing Cyberfrog. And owning your own thing is absolutely amazing. Owning your comic book, owning your character.
But you invented it in the early 90s.
Right, yeah.
And well, it's incredible, man.
I mean, I have other ideas, but I mean,
back like a hero. It came back.
Yeah, I think that's a lot of it. There's a subtext to the comic book that I could only do with Cyberfrog. Whereas, in the comic book, Cyberfrog, he was a hero in the 90s. He was kind of like a Deadpool style hero in the 90s. He goes to sleep in 1998. He's injured so badly. He goes into a 20-year hibernation, which essentially represents my time at DC Comics. 1998 is when I started to work at DC Comics, and I had to stop drawing Cyberfrog. But in 2018, he wakes up again to a whole different world. So the character, I needed to do Cyberfrog in order to express, in order to say something about what was going on or how I perceived the comic book world, the entire world, to have changed over the course of those 20 years. It was great to be able to reach back and grab a character from the 1990s that I'd created and sort of do a more updated and mature version for today. So that's why it makes, I have like a million other ideas, but this is the one that resonates with me right now. This is the story that needs to be told from my perspective. So I'm going to move ahead with that. And
No. I have a question about the Cyberfrog.
Yes.
Is for us, maybe I never read one of those comics. Where should I start?
Oh yeah, start with Cyberfrog Blood Honey. So far, these are bigger than normal books. The art is work that I spent way more time on than I was ever able to do with DC. DC has monthly deadlines. With this, I can spend a year, 12 months drawing the comic book, and an 80-page comic, and I can do my best work. I want these comics to stay in print. So you can go to eBay and you can look up Cyberfrog Blood Honey. You'll find our eBay store. There's the original campaign.
I'm in the Indiegogo page right
Closed
now.
down. It's done. Like, you can't get it there, but you can get it. We have an eBay store that we maintain.
Oh, okay.
And you can purchase it there. The second campaign that we did for Cyberfrog 2, Wrecked Planet, we're going to be getting the books in. That's also closed down, unfortunately, but we'll have books up on our eBay store. This is the second issue. It's meaningful to me. I don't know. It's wonderful to be able to take the time to do a book where you're able on every single page to do your absolute best work, and then to give it a presentation like this. No comic book looks like this.
No.
Not anymore. So it's really, really nice to be able to do this. And I have the fans to thank. They're the ones who have volunteered to donate $1 million and almost $1.5 million to make this happen, to allow us to make toys, to allow us to make multiple comics, and to give it this kind of a presentation. I'm truly grateful.
You have any of the action figures near?
Oh yeah,
we can see.
Okay. Yeah, hold on. Yeah. So this is the Cyberfrog action figure right here that we were able to make as well. This is like a dream come true. This is something that Playmates Toys was going to do, the Cyberfrog action figure back in the 90s, and decided not to do it.
Playmates, the same company that made the Ninja Turtles.
The Turtles, yeah. It was great. It would have probably been connected to that line. They made a sample, a prototype, but it never hit the shelves. But we've got Cyberfrog here. 5 different versions of the Cyberfrog toy. You can still back this. This is still up on Indiegogo. And then, of course, the villains. the Vespas here. Murderous
Awesome.
wasps here. Giant murderous wasps. So I
So
mean,
cool, man.
it is cool. It's amazing. Nobody gets to do this. Why would I ever? This is the thing. It's like there are so many talented, creative people who are working for big corporations. Why? You know, why do that? I guess if you
Well,
really want to draw Spider-Man, sure.
during the last couple of years, there has been a lot of artists in the comics industry that had left also the big houses. You know, we have like a little theory with a couple of friends from other channels that in the end, these companies are trying to implode themselves for some reason. They want to destroy it from the inside. We don't know why yet, or exactly why, but it is like as if they are trying to make people stop buying comics because the comics by Marvel or DC are not selling anymore. They're selling that the Superman, the gay Superman comic is selling a lot in Amazon. No, it's not.
Yeah.
Are they trying to like make them go to the bankruptcy because at some point the money will stop to flow?
Well, we no, I don't think so. I don't think they're deliberately trying to destroy these companies in a financial way. I think that there is a movement of people. There's a movement of activists who are doing this to every single hobby. They're doing this to every industry. They're taking it over at the
But the
human
numbers
resource
are
level.
talking. They are
But
losing millions.
well, maybe they are, but there's also something called ESG that we're uncovering now. We're discovering and trying to understand what exactly this is. But it is some kind of back in 2015, President Barack Obama changed laws in the United States that made it so that your employer could invest some of your pension, whatever your retirement funds. It used to be that they were only legally allowed to do that into companies and organizations who were provably profitable. Okay, like you had to prove, otherwise you're mismanaging your employees' funds. Well, Barack Obama changed that, and he made it so that you could invest in these companies if they were shown to be socially or environmentally responsible. So now you've got companies like Disney, you've got companies like Warner Brothers, in our cases here in comics, who are going out of their way since Marvel Comics and DC Comics are not particularly profitable. And sometimes Disney isn't profitable. Sometimes Warner Brothers is certainly hemorrhaging money. So what they can do instead is attract investment dollars, investment funds, by proving that they are hiring more women than usual, that they're hiring more Black people, more people of color, that they're hiring or they're doing more stories about gays and about this and that, socially left-wing causes, social causes. As long as they embrace those things and are seen to embrace those things, they're able to get some of this money from enormous hedge funds of something like $26 trillion that from hedge funds like BlackRock that will invest money they're now permitted to have this money invested into their companies. So it's not about you buying a comic book. They're going to get your money anyway. Whether or not you buy their woke gay Superman comic, it doesn't really matter to them because they're going to get your retirement funds invested in their company.
They're getting money from someplace else. These NGOs and
That's correct.
stuff, right?
Yeah. So I don't think they're intending to start. Now, Marvel and DC, they're basically doing this on behalf of their parent companies, Warner Brothers and Disney, that are publicly traded. I don't think Marvel and DC are, but if they can just help their parent companies to look more woke, they feel like they'll be allowed to stick around. After all, they're small potatoes. They're losing money, but they're not really losing that much money. Cost of business is a little tricky, but boy, they're really valuable. Instead of being story farms, places where they used to say, even though we're not really profitable for you guys, for Warner Brothers, we're making cheap stories for you that you can use as movies that make more money. If you make a good Superman movie, you're going to make more money than you would than we would lose in 10 years. So maybe keep us around. Well, that's no longer the argument. The argument is now we can make you look woke for ESG at almost no cost at all. So that's why you're seeing this continue. And once you understand that, you start to understand that there's really nothing, there's no argument to be made anymore. They know what they're doing is losing money. They know that people don't like it. They don't care. They just don't care.
It's sad, man, and we don't have any more good superhero movies. Now, what happens if tomorrow it comes the Netflix deal for your comic or something? Would you do it?
No. I don't think so. I'm going to do my story. I'm here to be a comic book artist, and very frankly,
yeah, but someone comes and says, "I love your comic. I want to make a movie."
Yeah, I'm not going to do that. I can make my own movie. I can make my own. I made my own action figure line. Yeah, I could do it to a certain degree. I mean, my plan is to really just get the story done, tell a big story. With the rest of my life, I want to tell a big Cyberfrog story and then leave it to my kids. And my kids can do it if Netflix comes to my son or my daughter Ava and says, "We'd like to make a Cyberfrog movie," let them cash in on that. That's great after I'm gone. My job here on Earth, and it better not be woke. That's the only thing my kids have to know is there have to be rules. So my dad wanted it to be, the way he did it.
There are a lot of woke shit in Netflix, but they also allow a lot of artists to do their own thing.
Yeah,
and it's cool. You have a lot of everything in that platform. Some very garbage, but there are cool things too.
We could crowdfund a little cartoon. I think we could do that.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Yeah. I want to maintain control. The idea of giving up your property.
Not giving up. No, offering you a deal to work to you do it.
An option. I mean, what these people do is. And I know this. I've dealt with this a little bit, and I've seen it happen to my friends. A company like Disney could get really sick of me, and then they could come to me and they could say, "Hey, we love you. We love Cyberfrog. We'd like to purchase the option for a movie." And I'm supposed to go, "Wow, Disney all is forgiven, Disney. Like that's great. I'm working with Disney now. Completely sell out my audience." And meanwhile, what they'd be doing is they'd be paying me a pittance to sit on the Cyberfrog option and never make it for 5 years. That's basically what they do. They pay somebody just so that nobody else can do it. And that's
and it is incredible because through these platforms you can also finance a whole movie. There are many filmmakers that have made it that way too. So that's
sure.
Beautiful.
Maybe one day we'll do that. When the story's all done. I would love to work with animators who might want to make a nice little 10-minute mini movie or something. That would be fun. But you have to be careful. I don't want to. This guy's important to me, so I don't want to lose him to some corrupt corporation.
Since I mentioned movies, your name showed up in the special thanks part of a very controversial, let's say, movie that came out a year ago, which was the Justice League, the Snyder version of the Justice League, and we saw the woke mob saying, "Why is he on the special thanks for the movie?" Now I ask you, why are you on the special thanks for this movie?
Well, they borrowed some of my ideas from the movie, and that's basically all it is. I mean, they don't care. Like, you think Zack Snyder or any of these guys, Joss Whedon, you think they know who I am? They don't care about me. They go through the comics and they read the comics and they kind of say, I like that idea. I'm going to put this idea in my movie. And it turns out that it came from me and probably Jeff Johns. And so, yeah, they're obligated. They don't have to, but they do tend to put names of creators that they took ideas from, specific inspiration from, as a special thanks. It's not a big deal. we don't get paid for that or anything like that. You don't get paid. You don't get a paycheck for having a special thanks in the movie. They did use some things that I have some equity in at DC Comics. So I did receive an enormous paycheck that I bought this house with for Justice League. It was incredible. Yeah, I mean, it was absolute. I've never gotten a royalty check like that before. And the movie lost money. I'm like, why are you giving me money? You guys lost $150 million on this movie. Why are you cutting me a check? But thank you. But it drove the left absolutely crazy because it looked to them as though I was being paid tribute to, or I was involved in the movie in some way. It's just not how it works. Unfortunately, it'd be funnier if it was what they thought it was.
Did you like that movie?
No, I didn't. I don't like any of these movies. I just don't like them. I liked Iron Man. I really liked the first two Avengers movies. I liked all the Iron Man movies. I don't like any of the. I don't like them. I don't know. I don't like them, and I hate it. I've been hating all the DC movies just with a fiery passion. Just awful. I feel bad. They just don't feel good. The Green Lantern movie was. I mean, it was a war crime. Like that was the worst. I couldn't believe what they did. They slaughtered my boy. Like, look what they did to my boy. They destroyed Green Lantern with that movie, and they did. They actually destroyed everything that Jeff and I and Ivan Rice that we were building. They destroyed it with that movie. Green Lantern stopped being popular instantly when that movie came out. It was terrible.
Man, yeah. Well, so the next thing I want to ask you is: are you familiar within the comics industry with Japanese comics?
Kind of, sort of. I know they exist.
Have you read any?
I'm reading Chainsaw Man right now. Yeah,
okay,
only because of incredible peer pressure from the fans. The
it's
fans
very popular right now.
Very popular. They're outraged that I'm like I from what I've seen, I'm not interested. I don't care about Dragon Ball Z, Pokemon. This isn't for me. But they're just like, what? Have you read this? Have you read that? You didn't read this yet. What are you talking about? You didn't read Berserk. You don't know anything about it. You should be reading this stuff. Because of that kind of peer pressure, I relented, and I've begun to read Chainsaw Man. I'm gonna try it out. I'm trying. It's weird. This is weird stuff, but I'm reading it.
Okay. I have to recommend you check out some classic from the 70s. Check out some classic manga too, because this Chainsaw Man is like too hardcore.
It might be
action packed. There are a lot of more tranquil graphic
he's
novels.
Such a weirdo.
Cool.
The lead character is so weird. He's like I just want some bread with some jam on it and to touch a titty. He's a weirdo. I don't want to read about this guy, and then he's got chainsaws. I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm going to continue reading it, and we'll see how it goes. The violence scenes are wonderful when he's actually fighting zombies and demons. Really, really good. I don't. The character seems so disconnected from reality. It really is strange. But I'll try more. I'll read more. I don't want to form an opinion yet.
But it caught my attention that within the last couple of years, since American comics, I mean in the main Marvel, DC, etc., went to hell, like manga sales increased a lot.
Yeah, it's a whole different culture.
But maybe people migrated also.
Yeah. Like this whole, Dan DiDio did talk about this. He did say we lost a whole generation of comic book fans, comic book readers to manga. And it's obvious that he's right. Like, that's not even contestable. He's 100% correct. We don't have 14-year-olds, 15-year-olds reading Batman comics. They're reading this other stuff. As kids, they're reading YA novels like Dogman, and then they're finding their way into manga. And that is a deep concern for the Western comic book industry. But we deserve it. We absolutely deserve to fail, in my opinion. based on our performance, based on our attitude toward our customers, based on what we seem to have decided in the mainstream comic book industry, what comic books are and what they're for. We deserve to fail. DC deserves to fail. Marvel deserves to fail, and they are failing. Here comes manga, and I'm reading it grudgingly. I'm an old man. I'm 48 years old. I'm an old man. But you're not too old. You especially when you're a comic book creator yourself. I think I need to read this stuff and understand it, and maybe there's something that I can take from it to make my own comic books better or more appealing to young people. So I consider this to be research and development.
Okay, last two. When is the point where you think that not only the comics, the whole pop culture started to go to hell with all this woke mob and this leftism, first feminism, the Me Too, and so on and so on?
Yeah, I mean that seemed to be to me. I remember some feminists showing up in comics. I don't want to name names. I'm sure some of the crowd can guess who we're talking about here. But I remember certain feminists showing up, and women had always worked in comics, but they understood the women who wrote comics, Ann Nocenti especially, Louise Simonson, Colleen Doran. They understood that comics were mostly a boys' club. 90% of the readership of the people who go to comic shops every week and pay $30 to get a stack of comics and take them home, they're men. They're not women. And so they sort of wrote their comics and behaved accordingly. We're women working in a men's industry. Cool, that works. But suddenly these feminists came in, and they basically took a look around them, and they looked at everything that we were doing, and they basically said, all of this is sexist. This is offensive. This is offensive to women. It's offensive to gays. It's offensive to minorities. Comics needs to grow up. And these people didn't seem to be comics fans. That was the strange thing. It didn't seem like any of them had been reading comic books their whole lives. They seem to have come from Hollywood. They seem to have come from the novel writing industry. They seem to be related or associated with other people. And oddly enough, all of the men around me, all of my peers, agreed with them.
Same
and
thing.
yeah, and they said, yes, you're right. We must change. Now, those who didn't got the message really quickly when the Me Too movement began, because Me Too seemed to be a weapon used by feminists to get men in line. And I remember one particular instance where one poor, unfortunate soul named Brian Wood, who was an excellent writer, he made a pass at Tess Fowler, who was one of these feminists. Okay. He saw her at a bar. He invited her up to his room. Now, he was just a writer. He's just, he wasn't in a position of power, but he walked up to her at a bar at a party, thought she looked cute, and said, "You want to go up to my room?" Normal adult human interaction. And she responded as though it was attempted rape. And she proceeded to retell this story all over the internet and say, we're unsafe. Women are unsafe in this industry. Destroyed his career, utterly destroyed Brian Wood's career over this. And everybody got the message really quick. Like, these ladies are here and they will hurt you if you try to interact with them as men interact with women. Just give them what they want. And the industry basically turned on its head. And suddenly most of the men who were already liberals became radical leftists who were seeking, they called themselves social justice warriors. They were going to promote this idea that racism and sexism were inherent and institutionalized, and they were a big part of the old comic book industry, and therefore social justice warriors, they were calling themselves, needed to fix that. They saw racism, sexism, homophobia absolutely everywhere, and they needed to fix it. And anybody who stepped out of line, every now and then they would take a scalp. Warren Ellis, you could look, it doesn't matter how big you are. They will take you down. They took down a male creator every couple of months, destroyed his life, canceled him. Great creative people. I mean, really, really good creative people who were good at making comics, but I guess bad at making making passes at women. I don't really know. Good comic creators, very bad at getting dates and very bad at selecting women to be their partners. Their careers are destroyed.
Yeah.
Did it make comics better? No, because people who are reading comics don't care what Warren Ellis gets up to in private. They don't care that he has a harem of women. They don't care. They care that his comics are fun to read. And because of these feminists who really had nothing to say other than women, and Superboy is gay.
It is amazing because a 20-something girl with the hair, her hair full with colors, she's going to explain you how Superman should be. It's incredible. They want to explain you comics. Yeah. You know, in my channel I talk a lot about comic books in fantasy, you know, science fiction and stuff, and it's great because you know these little girls, are trying to explain us. I am 37. I'm not so very far away from the 40s. So it was when I was a teenager. You know, I'm sure it happened the same to you. When you went to the store, where were all these expert female, you know, TV hosts, radio show hosts? They're all specialists in pop culture, fantasy, comics.
I never saw them.
My question is, where were you? I never saw
them. Yeah. When comics were considered to be, because I was reading comics when it was embarrassing to read comics. You know, if you got seen reading comics, you were called a nerd, a geek, you were socially ostracized. And no girls were reading comics. When I was 12, 13, 14, there were no women reading comics. Crazy. The idea is absurd. Suddenly the landscape is filled with very attractive women who are all pretending to be comic book fans. It is peculiar, and we must bow to them. We must allow them to
not
kick
only
our ass.
fans, specialists,
experts,
you know, like experts. Yeah, no, she's an expert. Yeah, right. Yeah,
they've read every Wikipedia page.
Exactly. No, it is terrible. So before, let me just 1 second. I want to read 2 super chats. Imega Arts, thank you very much. Says, it's worth mentioning many SJWs also hate Ethan because he helped create Dust, the first female Muslim Marvel superhero. Yes, but they won't use her because you created her.
Is that what it is? I'm like, they're like, Ms. Marvel, Kamala Khan. I'm like, yes, she would be number 2, I guess. But actually not. There are many, many more Muslim superheroes and characters at Marvel before even Dust. But yeah, there are quite a few. Ms. Marvel is the one that they prefer, though.
No, but it's great because nowadays they invented everything. The first girl superhero, the first, this Jennifer Lawrence. She was the first woman to play an action movie.
Star, yeah.
You know, an action movie. It was like, come on. Yeah. They're trying to tell this story that they are inventing things, like groundbreaking things that are, I don't know, I think we are for over 20 years, you know? Who cares if you're gay or not gay? It's like, you don't have to make it an argument to sell the product. We have gays in this movie. You have to see it.
Well, yeah, I would say so. Tim Drake is bisexual, and then what? So Jonathan Kent is gay. And then what? What's what happens then? What's the story? And really, there isn't any story. The entire point is he's gay, and now we're going to see him date. I guess I don't know. That's not
climate activist.
And he's holding a sign. That cover is amazing, by the way. I love that cover of him protesting with signs to save the Earth, to global warming. Aqualad is with him, and behind him there's a giant octopus destroying a boat, and he's sitting there holding up a sign like a jackass. Go save the boat. Go pull the octopus. Like, it's an unbelievable cover. Like, it's unintentionally hilarious and exactly on point.
How could they do this to Superman?
Well, and the other thing is DC Comics takes half steps. They really do want Superman, Clark Kent, to be gay. They would love to be able to do that. They want the headline, Superman is gay, because that's super to be gay. They really are promoting being gay, but they're afraid to do that because they know the consequences will be outrage. People will literally flip out. It's this character doesn't belong to you. How dare you? Like, you know, it belongs to the world. How dare you do this? So they create Son of Superman. And by the way, he was 8 years old and suddenly he's a teenager. He's 20 or something like that. And he's gay. So Superman is gay, but not the Superman, you know, this other Superman. And they did that to Green Lantern too. The first time I saw them do that was I was working at DC. It must have been 2010. And they're like, hey, we're making Green Lantern gay. And I was like, my Green Lantern? They're like, no. The original Green Lantern, Alan Scott. And I went, Alan Scott's gay? And they're like, the Earth 2 version of Alan Scott is gay. It's like, you guys are cowards. Like, either do it or don't do it. Like, if Green Lantern is gay, make Hal Jordan gay or Kyle Rayner or one of these guys. But you guys, you take Alan Scott, who nobody really cares about, and then you don't even do the original version of Alan Scott. You do an alternate Earth version of Alan Scott, and then you get the headlines without any of the real risk.
They won't make Jon Stewart gay. Definitely.
They will never, well, yeah, they'll never do that. Well, he's already marginalized. He's black. So that's fine. He's good. But we need more gays, I guess.
Yeah, but the black readers won't like that one bit.
Yeah. Remember Safe Space and Snowflake, those two characters?
Yeah. Did that prosper?
It didn't even come out. But you see, Jon Stewart existed. An interesting thing about these activists is you can reverse engineer what they're actually racist in a way, and you can reverse engineer what they think about you as a people, since they put everybody in boxes, by looking at what their version of you is. So you see, if you notice what they're doing to black characters when they create new black characters, they're the opposite. They're what they wish black people were. So the men are all kind of nerdy, emasculated. You can't, Luke Cage doesn't exist anymore. You don't have Luke Cage out there like, hey, you know, sweet Christmas, like, you know, punching people, being tough and masculine. You've got these slippery kind of effeminate black males who are super smart and probably bisexual. And that's the opposite. That isn't really representative of the other characters that have been black through history. So it's almost like they're denying that. They're saying that people don't want that. And this is kind of what we think of black people. It's very interesting. The same thing, like all black characters are super geniuses. We're talking about Moon Girl the other day. She's 9 years old and she's a black girl and she's smarter than Mr. Fantastic. Really? Okay. I mean, I guess Reed Richards wasn't as bright as I thought. And, none of them are capable. These people who write these comics are not capable of even writing a super genius 9-year-old girl. They're not. If they were capable of writing it in a convincing way, that's fine. We were looking at a conversation from an issue of Moon Girl where her parents her dad is like, we're not calling the police over what happened to you. You think I'm going to allow the police to deal justice to my African-American child, my daughter, my girl? We don't trust the cops to do that. And she just sits there, super genius that she is, and goes, oh, that's reasonable, Dad. Wouldn't it have been great if she had said, Dad, and then busted out a bunch of statistics? Like, this is the reality. 99% of police officers are just doing their job. I work with the Avengers, Dad. We work with the cops closely. They're good men and women on the force who risk their lives every day without superpowers, without super genius skills. They do this. They put their lives on the line for people. And Dad, you can trust the police to. Now, she didn't do that because that's not how the writers felt. And ended up making this 9-year-old super genius smarter than Reed Richards look pretty stupid.
They are not geniuses in the end. I have a question for you here. Did you talk about the Reaperverse or any other non-manga alternatives? We didn't talk about it. Are you familiar with the Reaperverse?
Yeah, of course. Eric DeLay and I are good friends. Really. He watched what we did with Comicsgate. I truly believe we were an inspiration to him. From the very start of crowdfunding comics, doing it on your own. He asked me a lot of questions. He what van did you get? What shipping van? You got warehouse. I got to get a warehouse. So I think he was really inspired by what we did. He took it to the next level because he's got this incredible social media following, and he's a really good messenger. He's really good at selling his ideas and himself. And this is a guy who's going to succeed. I mean, this is really exactly what Stan Lee was. Just out there with a big personality. A lot of people are interested in what you have to say, selling comic books. So I think he's going to do really, really well. We got lots of guys like that within Comicsgate. I mean, you go to comicsgate.org and you'll find a plethora of creators who aren't selling as many comics as Eric July is, but they should be. Many of them should be, and you should consider going over there and supporting some of those comics.
I have the site here, comicsgate.org.
There we go.
Okay, so you all guys visit it and see all the independent artists.
These are all indie comics that are non-woke. These are, and a lot of them are professionals, formerly from Marvel and DC.
Is there a chance that an indie comic creator can be woke, but by his own will, not because the boss says it?
Yeah.
Like making a gay superhero. Okay, but it is because I want to create. It just happens to be gay, but it can be like, I mean, it can have these elements without the politics, the woke politics in it.
Well, see, that's what's called a liberal. And those are good people. We got plenty of liberals in Comicsgate who are like, yeah, there need to be more gays, and that's cool. Woke is different. Once you're woke, you're an activist. You're compelled. You can't not do social justice. That defines what woke is, because your ideology says that everything's racist and sexist and homophobic, and you have to change it. So that's what woke means. Being a liberal is cool. You want to come over here and you want to make comics where, about social issues that concern you, as long as you don't force those views on anyone else, as long as you're not pushing people out who disagree with you. We're all about creative freedom and no political discrimination. And that's an important facet of Comicsgate.
So, okay.
I love looking at those comics. I was watching the screen. Like,
yeah,
oh, cool.
I was like, yeah.
I didn't see some of those
just browsing.
Before. Yeah.
A friend of mine, a big Marvel fan, he's on the chat right now. He always says Marvel died with Stan Lee. You think that's accurate or right?
It died before that, but yes, I think once Stan Lee passed away, the spirit of Marvel Comics as it was disappeared with him. Yeah, I think that's true. Yes.
Do you think this will be over any soon? This being the woke shit, the very a marketing thing, because it is a marketing thing. They all are sponsored by these NGOs and Planned Parenthood and so on. Do you think it will be over any soon?
I'm not sure. I hope. I'd like to think so. To me, it seems like a zombie virus, and it's like, well, will they get better? These zombies, are they ever going to be normal again? No, I don't think that's possible. I think something is really going to have to change, because people care about these Marvel characters and they care about these DC characters, and I feel like they're going to have to change hands. I feel like Marvel, as it is under Disney, and under the stewardship of this particular generation of creators, will never be normal again. It'll never be like it was. But that doesn't mean the future doesn't hold good things for Spider-Man and the X-Men and Superman and Batman. I just think that the editorial and creative teams need to be completely refreshed with people who are not woke, who care about telling good stories, and they exist out there. And people who really love these characters more than they love themselves, in a way, in their own messaging and things. That people who can tell a story about Spider-Man without making it about them. They're out there somewhere. Where is Frank Miller? Where's the next Frank Miller? Where is the next John Byrne? Where are these people? They've got to be there somewhere. Just pray for them to find comics again.
Okay, and keep the faith. Mm-hmm. And
in the meantime, it's all about the indies. It's all about manga. It's all about YA novels. Everybody should be supporting Comicsgate. If you agree with us, go meet some Comicsgate creators, support their books, and help Comicsgate creators to grow. That's what I would love to see. I'd love to see, the next important comic book IPs, the next television show, movie, whatever it is, could come from Comicsgate. But it really all depends. We're at a sea change, a time in which comics are changing forever. And we definitely need the help of comic fans. It's bringing
a whole new wave of creators too. Being independent.
Yeah. You can do better stuff. You can by having complete freedom and not worrying about. Hopefully, you do what you want to do and not what a major corporation wants to do. After all, when you're working for Marvel now, you can't really do anything that Disney disagrees with. You have to be the mouthpiece of a giant corporation. When it comes to politics, there's going to be one set of politics, and that's it. Same with DC. You can't say anything. Frank Miller couldn't do the comics of the 1980s that he did now, not today. Chuck Dixon, he couldn't tell his Punisher stories. They're trying to get rid of the Punisher over at Marvel. Right-wing heroes, and a lot of heroes are right-wing, cannot, the good stories that serve their characters well can't be told now.
Okay, let's keep the faith that we can have those stories back. Isn't there any Netflix adaptation that you have liked?
The Boys. Yeah, The Boys is great.
Yeah, from Amazon. Yeah.
Yeah, The Boys is awesome. I'm trying to think of what else. I mean, I think that's the best one right now. I loved Kick-Ass. I love everything that Mark Miller does. I think he's my favorite creator right now, my favorite writer, Mark Miller.
All right. Well, friends, please follow Ethan's channel. Thank you very much for being with us today. I wanted to have this chat with you. I hope my English could have been understood.
It was great.
I'm a little rusty.
It was great. I hope the chat understood me. I don't know if they did.
Yes. They're all speaking in English. And yes. And if they don't, okay, I don't care. No. Yes, they understand. Most of them knows English, thankfully. So thank you so much. Please, guys, check out Ethan's comics in comicsgate.org. And when can we get the t-shirts?
Yeah, I think next week I'm going to launch a campaign on Indiegogo for Comicsgate and All Caps Comics t-shirts and hats.
Okay, great. Time to put on the shirt. To us in South America are very fans of football, so put on the shirt means playing for the team. Great. Let's be aware of that. And please follow Ethan in his channel. Thank you so much for coming, man. In South America, we're also battling a lot because we complain also. We all consume this. We all grew up with Rambo and the 80s heroes on the movies. And nowadays, we all, this pop culture movies and TV series and comics, we also consume it. So we also complain about it. And we talk a lot about this, what happened. So I'm really happy to have you, who started this movement, be here in the channel. Okay, thank you so much for coming.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Okay, hope to see you soon, man.
Okay.
Send you a hug. Okay.
Take care.
See you soon, man. Amigos, muchísimas gracias a todos por haber acompañado. Acá lo tuvimos al señor Ethan Van Sciver. Thank you very much, everybody. My English is terrible. My English. Ay, Dios, cómo me trabé. Es que no tenía nada guionado. Absolutamente nada guionado. Un capo, Ethan. Un grande Ethan, espero volver a tener una charla con él más adelante. Un crack, la verdad que toda la historia que nos contó, le mando un abrazo muy grande. Thank you Ethan, if you're still watching this, thank you a lot for being in the channel. Un crack, un crack. Y yo no quise traerlo a colación, pero le quería decir, yo sé lo que es también que te cancelen. Nada. Un crack, muy contento y nervioso estuve durante toda esta hora. No lo quise retener más. El pibe por ahí se queda, hace directos en su canal que duran 4 horas, pero no lo quería retener mucho. Yo creo que 1 hora estuvimos bien. Se recopó el chabón. Tengo ganas de comprar Cyberfrog. La verdad que le quiero echar un vistazo porque se ve interesante los dibujos, la acción. Aparte la pasión que le pones a un proyecto independiente. Y yo creo que es hora también de que un montón de gente, no solo creadores de cómics, sino también realizadores y creadores de toda clase de cosas, videojuegos, querés hacer tu propio cómic, querés filmar tu propia película. Los músicos lo hacen todo el tiempo, quiero grabar un disco y necesito tanto dinero. Esto es más o menos lo que quiero grabar con una orquesta. A ver, ¿me lo financia el público? Lo hago. Si a fin de cuentas las cosas siempre se terminan financiando con el público. El voto de confianza que te da la audiencia a través de sitios como GoFundMe, para mí es un voto de fe alucinante. Yo nunca me metí en ninguna campaña de GoFundMe. Pero me imagino la fe y la esperanza en esa obra que le tenés que tener para que vos deposites tu dinero en este proyecto. Y me parece que nada, es un movimiento espectacular. Quiero encargarle una camiseta a Ethan. Después, un crack. Un crack, me quedaron cosas por preguntarle, pero no quiero tirar toda la carne al asador. Así que, nada. Thank you. Is there anybody, English speakers on the chat that are not understanding shit of what I am talking right now? Please manifest yourselves in the chat right now. Gracias, Huguito. ¡Mua! Here I am. Great. Welcome. The channel is mostly Spanish speaking. But if you want to stay and follow the channel and, watch the videos anyway, thank you so much because I really need it too. We mostly talk about movies. Movies and pop culture news. And of course, the absurdity of today's world. And I can use this video to speak English like without any penalty. Totally unimputable. You're unimputable. In 10 days, you're out. Bueno, amigos, no se te notó lo nervioso. Uf, estaba re nervioso. Pero bueno, amigos, muchas gracias a todos. Se volvió el canal ya es internacional. He tenido entrevistas con artistas internacionales en el canal. Por favor, fíjense. Tengo una charla, me tomé un café con Temuera Morrison, donde mi inglés estaba mucho más aceitado. Y estuve charlando, improvisé una entrevista con Temuera porque no sabía qué chota preguntarle. Chequéenla con Boba Fett, boludo. La tengo acá en el canal. Tengo también, entrevista con un par más. Con una cosplayer yankee, con Kristen Huey, una cosplayer norteamericana, que también habló un ratito en inglés en un evento. Pero bueno. Para que se está sumando gente ahora. Bueno, pero ya se fue Ethan, no quiero tampoco hacer clickbait de que la gente se meta y que no encuentre. Prefiero que entren y vean un buen video de 1 hora y pico, de 1 hora y poquitos, con la charla con este crack que fue Ethan Van Sciver. Muchísimas gracias por haberte sumado al directo de hoy. Thank you very much. Hope to see you soon. Y muchas gracias a todos, a ustedes, amigos, por haber acompañado hoy. Nos volvemos a ver dentro de un ratito nada más, a las 9 y pico de la noche, porque son los Golden Globes. Así que nos vemos dentro de un ratito nada más, ¿ok? Estén atentos al canal, activen la campanita, síganme en Twitter, en Instagram, bla, 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 bla. Ya saben. Nos vemos en un ratito. Chau, chau, chau.
Recorre el mundo en la actualidad, que los hombres se han tornado débiles. No te sientes halagado, que todo por ahí. Que digan eso así, aunque 100 o miles de años puedan transcurrir por vencer. el más fuerte